Hi, good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome to yet another episode of Pocket Podcast. This is an introductory episode with Mr. Balaji. Hi, Balaji. How are you?
Hey, Ikshit, great. Thank you.
So, Balaji is co-founder of Ability, and both of them are working towards improving education quality by working closely with children, parents, schools, and they have tied up with more than 4,000 schools, right?
Yeah.
In India. And besides this, he is very passionate about how humanity can make big changes, and which is very interlinked to transhumanism, longevity, superhuman as a concept. We will be drilling down on each in this topic in this podcast, and this is just an introductory episode. We will get to know about him, and further on we will be pushing on more episodes.
Absolutely.
And we will be drilling down on each topic. And so yes, so let's begin. So hi, how is your day been?
Pretty cool, man.
Okay, so
Maybe a little bit about ability and
Okay.
then Kinderpass.
okay,
So ability is focused on helping children facing challenges,
okay,
including special needs.
okay,
So there are a lot of children who face all sorts of challenges, including like somebody could be from a poor background. Could be the first generation coming to school. Somebody could have physical challenges, psychological difficulties, and attention issues, and other special needs. So there are a variety of challenges children face.
100%.
That's what we are focused on. As part of the ability family now, Kinderpass is also now added.
Okay.
Kinderpass provides one-on-one online therapy to
Okay.
kids.
Okay. So, talking about ability first, because we have discussed about this. So, how are you helping children to learn better?
Yeah, I mean, like, see, so the backdrop for this is, we are focused in not just in India, across the world. Developing countries are our focus, right? Even though India is our is where we are doing more work.
Okay.
These days. So if you'd be surprised, like people in education would know, but people generally would not imagine the number of children who are in grade 5 who can read grade 2 text, English text, is like sub 50%, right?
Okay.
And the same thing is similar results in maths. And you think this is like an India problem? It's not. This problem exists across the world.
Right.
In fact, there are many districts in US which have similar results.
Okay.
Or worse results.
Okay.
Right. So, and why do children after many years in school can't do basic English, basic maths? Have the ability to learn other things, because if you learn English, if you learn basic maths, then you are, you can learn other things.
These are the building blocks.
These are building blocks. And without this, many doors close. And why is it that so many children can't do these foundational things? One of the main things is, besides, like, we can blame the system, we can blame many things, but there are big socioeconomic factors involved.
Okay.
And special needs, right? So, and as a world, we are making progress, right? This was very bad 100 years ago. We have made progress, but there is no reason to be happy with where we are. We need to continue making progress. So the way we work with, how we help this cause currently is we train teachers mainly.
Okay.
Right. So, teachers have a huge role. If teachers understand the type of challenges children face and how does that manifest in their classroom, and if they can help the child even understand the challenge the child is facing, it's a huge win.
Okay.
Right. So that's kind of our current focus, raising awareness about these challenges so that the teachers can become empathetic towards the children.
Okay.
And then they can take action.
Okay. That's a great cause. Okay. And how are you planning to, where do you see ability in next 5 years?
See, we are kind of scratching the surface, right?
Okay.
Teacher training is just one of the things. Let's say if there is a child who is in grade 8 and cannot read or comprehend a paragraph in English. So that problem is very hard to solve.
Right.
By the school, by the teacher. The 8th grade teacher is not going to teach 2nd grade stuff to that child. So, being able to solve those problems at scale is kind of where we see ability going.
That's a very important problem, because I know many people in my zone, or not my zone, in my field, who have seen the same issues. So because it's very easy to get admission into college, but at the same time, if building blocks are not good, then your career is at stake.
Absolutely.
The company you work for is at stake. So it's a compounding effect.
Yeah, totally.
And then if you don't understand math, you won't be able to manage your finances well, and then it is going to lean down, and it is going to
totally
magnitude of effect.
Totally. I think it's the overall there is a very good correlation between GDP and this.
Right.
So there is this amazing graph which kind of shows you the average number of years of education in a country and their GDP.
Okay.
So India is like 6.5, 7, I think.
Okay.
And if you take a country like China, it's probably 10. Like Singapore is like 11 or 12.
Okay.
Right. So just a few more years on average of high quality education makes a huge difference to your overall GDP.
100%.
And if you don't do it, the social risks for this is huge. Right. If you have, like, India is still a young country, but it will not be a young country in 20 years.
In 20 years.
30 years. We'll be slightly older. And if you have a 30%, 40% of the population who lack these skills, that's a pretty serious
matter of concern.
It's a pretty serious issue.
Fair point. Okay, and let's not talk more about Kinderpass. We will obviously develop about ability and education in our further episodes. But now, what is Kinderpass?
So Kinderpass is a therapy platform.
Okay.
So particularly for children with special needs.
Okay.
There are they need additional help. It could be speech therapy, behavior therapy, or occupational therapy.
Okay.
And particularly if you have children with autism, children facing other conditions. In a place like India, even if I'm in Bangalore, right, finding a therapist right next to me is very hard.
Okay.
And finding a match, the chemistry between the child and the therapist, there are so many things. So this is an online platform.
Okay.
So not only people would benefit from doing this online, save time. It's much more easier and economical to do it. And but if you're in a tier 3, tier 4 town in India, then you don't have access.
And many times I think people don't even know if there is what is therapy and how it can help the children.
Sure. Yeah, no, definitely. Like if a child has a diagnosed special needs, the parents would know. But yeah, you're right in the sense that there is a lot of awareness that needs to improve in this regard.
Okay. And in Kinderpass, what is the age group that you're looking at?
Young children.
Young. If you have to give a number.
See, the thing is, this is the current situation, but in the future, there's no reason why there has to be an age limit. But it's about focus at this point. So school children is the current focus.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Can you give me a use case of this? Let's say there is a child of XYZ age in XYZ city facing XYZ problem, and how can you arrange a therapist for him, and how it can benefit the child and the family? Can you give me a use case?
So let's say for example, a child needing speech therapy.
Okay.
Let's say if a child with autism or other conditions, there is a challenge with speech, and speech therapy is like going to a gym for speech, right? And you need to practice a bunch of things regularly for a long period of time to be able to improve that. And that's a great example of how you could do it online. On a Zoom call, the child and the parent could participate in a session with the speech therapist, and then the speech therapist can.
I can relate because I had this problem in my young age. I was not able to pronounce certain words clearly.
Right.
And the same was there with my younger brother.
Right.
So in Ahmedabad, there was a government doctor. For that, we have to travel to Ahmedabad. It's 300 kilometers from my home. We used to go to therapist, and she used to make me practice for an hour a day.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. But having an online platform and making it more accessible will be of great help. And apart from speech therapy, what are the other things like?
So yeah, there are like a bunch of things, like behavior is another area, occupational is another area, and remedial English, remedial maths is another area.
Well, what do you mean by remedial and before that?
Oh, remedial is like I was telling you, children face challenges in foundational literacy and numeracy, and then if it is not addressed during the younger ages, and the child, even if the child reaches grade 4, it's without. You got to go through
building the blocks.
Yeah, you got to build get the building blocks.
Okay. Right. And how can people reach out to Ability and Kinderpass? Online?
Yeah, online. Yeah.
Online. Okay. And if let's say if there is a children who needs a therapy and KinderPass is a platform, so they have to go on a website. Do you have an app?
Yeah. The website is the best.
The website is the best option. Okay, for both ability and KinderPass.
Yeah.
So yeah, and apart from that, in the introduction and before we started, you said that you're really passionate how humanity can make big changes in society, in terms of health, in terms of financial literacy, or in any other area. So can you please tell us about this interest and
right? See, like for a long time, right? So we have these amazing stories about superhumans or superheroes, as we call it, right? Whether it's in mythology, right? Greek gods, or so you have beings with extraordinary powers,
right?
And so this has been like the seeking of human beings for a long time, right? This is a very old idea, right? Because as a human being, you see that there is a big limitation, right? You get old, you die, your senses become weaker, and there are so many other difficulties as a human being you face. And there is always this quest to overcome that. Right? And we have overcome a lot of those.
Right.
Let's say a few hundred years ago, if I have like power 10, in my eyes, I'm blind for all purposes. Right. But now you would go pick up a glass. You can see. You pick up a phone and speak to anyone anywhere in the world. Right? So we have always kind of broken these constraints, and this is the quest of the human race. Right? We constantly keep breaking barriers, and have newer and newer capabilities. And I really think that we write these stories about superhuman beings almost as a target for us to reach that. Right, so that's the idea of superhero stories. That's the idea of all this. Even though I don't really read or like superhero stories, but I can get the idea.
Fair, got it. And just in this superhuman, there are 3 topics that I want to discuss because we have talked about this directly or indirectly. And so I want to start with transhumanism. So what exactly is transhumanism?
Right. So like so the idea is like how we it's in the same ambit of superhumans, right? So how would we beat our constraints?
Okay.
Right. So transcending humans.
Okay.
Right? So Yuval Harari wrote an amazing book recently called the Homo Deus.
Yeah.
So that's a good way, right? So Homo Deus is like human being becoming God, right? Deus is God. So how human beings become God-like.
Okay.
Right. So the idea of transhumanism is basically that, right? So how with technology we would transform ourselves,
right,
break the many constraints that we have. That's the idea of transhumanism.
Okay. So I'm trying to build an ideal analogy here. Just correct me. So let's say with the advent of phone, we could communicate through distance. Distance is not a problem.
Right.
Okay. So this was a step. Now let's say in next 10-15 years, Neuralink coming in and other factors coming in, there will be many other areas where it won't be a challenge for us. Technology will make things very, very easier for us, and then we will achieve more powers. Like this is just an example. Like distance is not an issue because of phone, video calls, and everything. So just like this, there'll be other blocks like having unlimited memory or insane health. So are these the right examples or?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you could use that, but we could kind of expand further, right? I think I might have told you this. Recently I was listening to a conversation, a talk, and so this guy was talking about a sermon Buddha gave.
Sorry?
A sermon Buddha gave.
Okay.
So as Buddha left home because he kind of saw, he kind of got exposed to aging and disease and other sufferings. And he was living a protected life. He views this and then he leaves home to find out, right? And so in this sermon he was giving to his people who were followers of him. So one of them said, "Hey, you left home because of this, but from the looks of it, you seem to be getting old. It looks like more likely you're going to die. So what did you actually do? What did you actually solve for?" So Buddha gives this answer that, there are two arrows that come at you, right? One arrow is like aging and disease and from the external world, right? Like a pandemic could come and hit you. You could have an accident, all sorts of things. Things happen from outside, or somebody could tell you some mean things to you. Then there is the second arrow, which is our own view of that, right? So there is pain and there is suffering, right? So you amplify your pain through your own mind. So Buddha was saying, I'm interested in the second arrow of how you can deal with the reality without suffering or with less suffering. That's the idea of Buddha. And transhumanism is really about the first arrow.
Okay.
How we can actually reverse aging, improve health, improve the brain, So all of these things, I really think transhumanism is the first arrow.
Okay.
And how you deal with it is the second arrow.
Got it. That's a very, very interesting narrative. Fair. Okay. We will definitely drill down on this topic in further episodes, and I would also read more, and so I will also have more to contribute. Next is longevity and longevity escape velocity that we have discussed.
Right.
So can you just for our audience and even for me give a small insight on same?
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of the things that would be really interesting to consider is like a question to ask is like, what is the physical limit? Physical limit as in what does physics allow? Right. So how fast you can go? You can't, at least from what we know so far, we can't go faster than the speed of light.
Right.
Right. So if you're going slower than that, there is a possibility that you could go nearer to that.
Right.
Right. So, and it's a very important idea because we limit our thinking about what is possible is limited by our imagination.
Right.
But actually, we should consider the actual physical limit as the actual limit.
Okay.
Right. So when it comes to communication, right? So you and I are using like words and body language,
right,
and gestures to and facial expressions to communicate what we are saying, right? This communication is a very, very slow form of communication.
Okay.
And if you look at really what this communication is, I am using some words, and these words in it have coded some actual meaning. Then I transfer, I speak, you listen, you take those words and you take out what is encoded in that as the meaning, and then you get a sense, right? If I read a poetry, all of this is happening, and I get a sense of what the poet is trying to say, right? But it's a very poor form of communication in the sense that there is so much not understood. That's why you have to read books many times.
Right, multiple times.
And then you read a book a few years later, it's a different book.
Different perspective, yeah.
Right? And so the communication is very poor.
Okay.
Right. Even the best people who know how to use the language very well, poets and authors, great authors and communicators, they have severe limitations in terms of how to communicate and how much to communicate. I'm using communication because so if you say that, okay, what happens in my brain before I make these sentences?
Okay.
And then what happens to your brain when you have fully understood it? Right? Can I directly transfer it? And if you think like that, right, then we can start to see where is the limit of communication. Right? This is an important idea when we think transhumanism or any of the topics that we are going to discuss. Is like to kind of think what are possible limits.
Okay, yeah, got it.
So, and many a times we have just barely scratched the surface.
Potential, yeah.
Right. Let's say even if you take something like energy, so people say, oh, it's scarce. We will run out of energy. We'll run out of this. We'll run out of that. I mean, actually, if you really think, does physics stop you? Many times it's not. Right. If you are able to create energy in a very inexpensive manner, you could recycle anything. You could do anything actually. You could create abundant water. You could do all sorts of things, right? So I'm kind of want to introduce this idea so that the spirit of everything else we are going to discuss is basically to not be limited by thinking like currently what is that we are doing and then what is the next step. But actually we can be a lot more broader in how we think about this.
It's like taking a roof as the limit, but actual limit is the sky, or or not even the sky.
Exactly, because we see the roof, we can imagine the roof, we are limited, but many times we don't have to be, and but of course, just because physics allows it, you can't do it tomorrow. You need to build so many pieces of technology. All of that takes time, but yeah, you don't have to.
Humanity
you can think differently about it.
Humanity since millions, and we have just discovered the internet yet.
Yeah. So which kind of brings me to longevity. Right? I'm kind of preambling this with this for longevity because for some reason we have accepted that death is like natural.
Right. Okay. So the same roof mentality.
The roof mentality. We kind of think death is inevitable. Right. Death might have many advantages from an evolutionary perspective.
Okay.
Right. Death also creates new stuff. New generations improves. That's like how evolution. We have kind of from microbes. We have become human beings through maybe not microbes. Microbes divide, but the rapid improvement in the faculties of a mammal, like the initial mammals to us, made huge progress, largely because of, I would say, death. Right? But this is how evolution have done it. Right? If evolution was a way to improve it, death is an important piece because you go from one set of genes to the next set of genes. You have to remove the resources used by this and allocate to the next generation. That's how you improve the species, right? Purely evolutionary speaking. But we don't need to be constrained by that,
right?
In one way, so there are so many species that live for a long time,
right?
There are trees that are thousands of years old. There are animals which don't die, like
jellyfish.
Like jellyfish, for example, right? There are some species of jellyfish which doesn't die. So there is nothing in biology that warrants death. Okay. It has to die.
Okay.
Right. There are mechanisms in nature which at least forget death. Death is like you could be killed, no question about it. It could be destroyed. Any order could be disordered. So you could break something. Any jellyfish you could cut it into pieces, put it in a mixer, it will die. Right. But what we're talking about is natural death. Right. After a while, if everyone is like absolutely healthy, you will die. Right. That's the current situation. Right. But that need not be the. That's not necessarily. That's not necessarily a limitation we have to accept.
Fair.
Right. That's the idea of longevity. Right. Longevity is not about living very long in bed, with very limited. Longevity is really about reversing aging.
Reverse aging. Okay.
And so it's a new term, a term that has been recently becoming popular called the health span.
Okay.
The idea is you can increase your health span, so you can be healthy and fit and vigorous for a lot more time than we are currently used to. Is the idea of longevity.
Just drawing an example from mythology, that we used to, in Hindu mythology, there are people who are known as immortals. I'm not saying that this is exactly what it is, but it's not. Now when we're discussing this, it does not sound mythology. It is very much possible.
Yeah.
All you need, you input good resources in you eat good, you do everything fine, take care of organs and few medicals, treatments and all, and then you can live much longer.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we just don't know how at this point. And like, this whole mythology point is what I was saying earlier. We come up with a lot of these stories as a way to tell ourselves what we should aspire for. Right? This is a way for this is our requirements document for what we need to build. Right? So, hey, living for 1,000 years. Yeah, of course, why not? Imagine and see if we can do it. Right? Currently, we don't know how to solve many of the problems. Right? We have not yet solved cancer. We have not solved many aspects of aging, but we will solve. There's nothing stopping you physically, like speed of light, or you can't go faster than this because there are real limits. That type of limit doesn't exist here.
Right.
You just don't know how the mechanism works. It's very complex. It's very difficult to solve. All of that is true.
But it's possible.
It's possible. It's very much within the realm of possibility.
Yeah. I would like to ask that we were discussing few people who are already doing this. We have seen reverse aging. Let's say Jeff Bezos. We have seen his pictures of early days of Amazon, how he used to look and how he looks now. He's looking immensely fit. He's looking immensely smart. He's thinking better. He's doing much better things. So can you just help us with the people who are already pioneers in this and are already doing?
Yeah, there are a lot of people working on this. I'm not, like Brian Johnson, for example.
Brian Johnson, okay,
is a good example. So, so there is David Sinclair,
okay,
who has written a book called Health Span, actually.
The Health Span, okay.
And then Peter Attia.
Sorry?
Peter Attia.
Peter Attia. Okay.
So he's working on many people. There are a lot of people who are working in this space.
Okay.
On the research side, in terms of improving how to do, and we might have seen a lot of people in our own lives who look a lot younger than their age. Some of it is just a genetic lottery.
Okay.
Right. Some of it is work, but we don't know yet. There's not no amount of money today can stop somebody from dying, right? But we can solve many problems that will prevent, maybe, hopefully, this people who are alive now could live really long, or at least the young children who are now could live really long, or at least we can extend life until we solve it, which is the longevity, escape velocity, right? So we don't have to solve all the problems. We have to solve enough problems so that we can live another 20 years. And then by extending that, you have about 20 more years. And then with those 20 years, maybe we can further extend to another 30 years. Is the idea of longevity.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Any sources, any YouTube channels, books that you would like to recommend to our audience to read more on these topics? Because I get it. These are very these are known topics in a few set of people, but masses are still not very much aware. When I speak about this in my office or my friends, my colleagues, people still don't know about this.
Right.
Are there any sources which you can inspire people to?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. If you search for longevity in YouTube, there are a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
Right, a lot of good stuff. I just want to add one more thing. So currently, right, what we know is we don't have any magical pills yet.
Okay.
The best we can do today is to keep yourselves healthy, do enough, exercise, and just best practices that we know so far.
Okay.
Right. So that you give yourselves more time, right, while this problem is solved.
Okay.
So, I think it was Ray Kurzweil who said there are like 3 bridges, definitely. The first bridge is like the lifestyle, right? Better lifestyle. Don't do silly stuff. Don't help death, right? Eat well, sleep well, exercise well. Avoid exposure to unnecessary stuff that will hurt you. This is like the lifestyle bridge. The next bridge is with genetic engineering, with CRISPR and other tools that are coming along.
CRISPR.
What is CRISPR? CRISPR is like, being able to change the gene.
Okay.
Like a genetic surgery, so to speak.
Okay.
So that you could change some of the what the gene does.
Okay.
Right. So this is, again, a lot of will improve over the next decade or so. The third is nanotechnology, which is the third bridge. So nanotechnology is like, your cells are extremely small, but it has a powerhouse inside. It does so many things. It has, it has the formula to become, like if it's a stem cell, it can become your eyes, your ears, your teeth,
okay,
your heart. So the same cell has the capability to do any of this. All of that is coded in a very, very small machine, which is a cell. And nanotechnology is to be able to create something like that. Not necessarily a cell, but machines that are of that scale.
Okay.
So then you can have these nanotechnology, nanobots, that can go inside your body, do the cleanup, do the work, right? Help the body to be healthy, right? So these are like the 3 bridges, according to Ray Kurzweil. And I have a feeling that there'll be a lot more things that will come up in these spaces that will, help. So yeah, I think currently if you want to live longer, the thing that you can do the best is focus on your lifestyle.
Sleep 8 hours.
Yeah.
Eat good food. Work out.
Yeah.
And try to avoid unnecessary aspects. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the key. That's the key.
Okay. I think we've got a good starting episode. We got to know about you, the things we are planning to discuss in upcoming episodes, and how you are passionate about it. I know that you are giving talks on this since 2008, right?
Yeah. So we run a meetup group.
Okay.
In Singapore. It's a little dormant now. Called the Singapore Futurist. Initially, we were the Singapore Transhumanists.
Okay.
So the idea was to talk about these technologies. And one of the key things is if these are very, big pieces, if as a common man, if you don't understand these things in a serious way, it's not great, right?
Fair.
So you got to be ahead of this. Got to be aware of this.
And because I know your real age, and I can say that I think you're practicing this since a while. You're also you're going to a particular kind of gym, and you don't look close to your age. You look much younger than that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've said this earlier.
No, I mean, I think it's not because of anything I've done. I mean, I think I'm lucky. So there's nothing. I mean, I eat a lot less. If there's anything, that's probably one thing that I've been consistently doing for many years.
And also, you've been working out.
Huh?
Also, you've been working out well.
Yeah. Recently, I'm going back to the gym.
We'll also discuss on this particular kind of gym this particular kind of gym you are going.
Yeah.
Okay. In further episodes, anything you want to add or anything?
No, I think this is a great
good starter episode.
This is yeah. There are so many aspects.
Yeah.
Of this to discuss.
Yeah. So I think we have branched many areas, and now topic is to drill down or niche down to particular areas.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So thank you.
Cool,
thank you. It was a really nice episode.
Ciao.